let's face it, guys, there's a heck of a lot of negativity in the world today, and that's a fact. But if you take a closer look, we're also bombarded with a whole lot of positivity as well. Today, we're opening up a can of worms and ask ourselves whether we're negative Nancys if we're not positive Patsies. Or is it okay not to be okay? Let's go. 老师早安
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. If you're listening to this in the morning, if you're not, welcome back to the land of the living. My name is Ming. I'm joined by Ming as well.
I vouch that most people watch this in the evening. Watch this. Wait, listen to this in the evening.
And we've also got our showrunner with us, Jeremy. Jeremy, when do you listen to the podcast usually?
I listen to it when it's being recorded. So
No.
That's true.
That's not the correct answer.
That's true.
So I listen to it at least 3 times as we upload, you know?
Okay.
So,
but okay, before you were show running or recording, what times of the day?
Okay, I'll admit I fall into the Minghan category, the at night category.
Night owls.
Yep.
Man.
Nice. Well, it's not the first time you're seeing us at home.
Yeah.
We don't want to spend too much time talking about it, but
man.
it's the home sessions.
Today we're recording this on the first day of MCO.
Oh,
4? 3?
it's
5?
3.5? 3.12. What is it, Jeremy?
It's phase 1, that's what they're calling it now.
Okay.
They're trying to Marvel Cinematic Universe, is it? What is phase 1?
It's the phase 1. No, but Ming and I always play this game. Every time we are put back into the MCOs, right? We make a prediction.
What's the prediction?
What's the prediction, Ming?
What's the prediction?
The prediction is they said that it's going to be 2 weeks.
Oh, it's Tosh.
I'm going to say see you in July, dude.
I'm gonna just straight up say this is going to be a 2-month affair. Seriously. There's no way.
Be 2 months lah.
There's no way. Seriously. You think about it, the first time they always say it's 2 weeks, right? Okay. MCO 1 was 2 weeks. MCO 2 was 1 month already. MCO 3, and the numbers are like what? 6,000, 9,000.
At its peak, the other day it was what, 9K, right, Jeremy?
Yes, it was 9K.
Oh,
we almost hit the 10K mark.
Truly, we were short of 10K, and I think that's something that we might achieve if
we'll see everyone during Merdeka. That's what's going to happen, okay?
Oh my goodness. But okay. What else did we get up to? So
it's
we're on
fun. It's pretty fun. It's been pretty fun.
It's the first, it's day 1 officially. It's June. It's birthday month for me. And
what do you want for, okay, everyone listening right now, what do you want for your birthday present, Mingyu?
Oh, this is hard.
On the spot, no presentation prepared. Yeah, if you all don't know, Mingyu prepares presentation points for what he wants for a birthday. So there have been slides and PowerPoints in the past.
True.
What do you want? What do you feel like having this year?
I need a more powerful PC. it can't handle my dual recording streaming setup really.
Oh man.
So anybody on hit us up?
Oh, okay. What beside a wallet burning alternative?
I don't know, man. Like, what else? I want a cat. I'm planning to get a cat. Yeah. So that's
really?
That's news. I'm planning to get a cat.
With all your furniture and
actually, all my furniture has been kind of like thought of if I have a cat. Yeah. So like when I got my sofa, I made sure the sofa didn't have space underneath for the cat to crawl under. It's like touching the floor.
What about the sofa itself? It's scratchable, right?
Yeah, this one. you know it's gonna scratch by yourself as well.
Alright, so everyone at pause, hit Mingyu up. If you got 15 abandoned cats, that's where you're gonna.
I don't need so many. It's crazy.
It's a good life.
It's a bit crack. Yesterday we had a TMT hangout on the YouTube channel. That was fun. And one question got us by surprise. Not really surprise. It was quite funny. Someone asked, "Hey, you guys, this is quite fun. You guys should do podcasts."
Oh.
And we're like, you know what? Yeah, let's do it. So welcome to the 112th episode of the Takeaway Table Talk podcast. This week we're talking about negativity and how much is too much or too little with positivity. It's a very big concept. We're gonna unpack that later. But it's actually a topic suggestion by one of our community Discord members called Pagna. It's like, I don't know if it's controversial, but it's a thought-provoking one, right? So how much freedom of emotion should people have with all the positive vibes only attitudes and trends, Pagna feels that people aren't allowed to have negative emotions because if not, you're labeled as negative, right? And then there's the focus on mental health in modern society, where people, who feel stressed or sad or have any potential unhealthy signs, people jump at you to advise you how to be positive, to correct the problem.
Right.
Is being negative even all right? If people are inherently negative, but they have their own ways to cope and they don't hurt anyone or themselves, should the positive advisors just take a back seat? It's a very big concept, but maybe Minghan, you want to help us simplify or understand that a little better.
Basically, what is today's current society like in response to anything that is not okay as a person? And I think, I don't know, I feel like we are right on track when it comes to the snowflake era. There was a whole discussion about people who can't take criticism, who feel like our parents' way of disciplining and upbringing was too harsh and everything, right? And for a while it was okay. And then, human beings just have this tendency to like blow it out of proportion, right? So we were talking about this yesterday on the stream as well, on TMT, right? Like why we don't make the same jokes anymore, right? Because people these days take things too sensitively, too out of context, and there is no space to mess around like there was, right? And I think this all is related to this whole like positive vibes only, where I think people, I read a really good piece in regards to why there is so much quote unquote social justice, or there's so much quote unquote toxic positivity online, is because that you as a user want to feel like you're taking the moral high ground. And when you do that, it makes you feel good about yourself that you are actually telling someone off or giving a positive piece of advice to someone without, and here's the clinch, right? At the risk of not knowing any context of the situation, at the risk of being a hypocrite of yourself, you just want for that one post and that one comment to say something positive. That's it. And
so that you look like an expert or guru lah.
Yeah lah. So basically it looks like you got your life together and you look like you are helping somebody. There's this whole messiah complex that's like in that comment. And and I think on the flip side as well, it's very stressful for people who who have a negative, I won't even say negative lah, who have a more pessimistic predisposure, like as a person. Like, some people are just like, it's not to say like wrong or unhealthy, but some people are just like, for example, a little bit more introverted or a little bit more antisocial, right? Or some people always feel stressed all the time, or some people it could be natural, it could be not, but the point is this whole positive vibes only thing make these people feel like they are lacking something, or they feel like they're not good enough. So that's the whole.
So that's one
the
of
whole
the
trend about
stances.
it.
That's one of the stances that we want to explore here. Jeremy, what are your thoughts on this one?
I feel like there are times where we are all negative. Like no one is positive all the time. If you are, good for you. That's a blessing.
You're lying.
You're lying. But I feel like I agree with what Minghan said. Like we with social media, it just blew up of proportion. If you look back like 10 years ago, right, I don't think we'll be having this discussion like on a big topic. It'll be just a small topic of just why be so negative all the time. But when you be social media, like, everybody wants to be in a place of moral high ground. I really agree with that. Like we feel like we need to be someone who is like above others and say like, hey, I'm so great for sharing positive thoughts. It's fine. I mean, once in a while it's fine, but when it kind of it kind of hits me when people become a bit more hypocrite about it. When you kind of when it hits that spot for me, that's when I feel like it's too much already. And you're just going on your own high horse.
Okay, there's a small segue, not talking about emotion. What's the craziest thing that is like closest to that just happened recently? What? So our good friend Harvey Skin, right? So Harvey has been posting again on social media, and he's gained some weight. All right. And the thing is, he's fine with it. Like he wants to bulk and everything lah. So I mean, whether or not you want to bulk, some people just gain weight if you take it easy and want to relax, right? And he's been sharing his photos online. And the worst part about this was he's been so cornered by the good sayers on his Instagram that they are all, number one, insulting him because he looks so fat. And he's just saying that, guys, I'm okay. I'm not fat. I'm really just bulking. And then these people switch to like, stop being in denial about yourself. Just love yourself, Why don't you just love your own body? And Harvey is like, I love my body, but I'm not fat, And I think that's like one of the best examples, like, can you see how crazy it is that this whole positive vibes only can switch from like, it can be used as ammo for so dangerous things, like calling someone overweight, and then like when they deny it, you say like, please just love yourself. Just accept the fact, love yourself, and go and exercise.
It's like you cannot win that argument.
Yeah, it's like, what the heck? You want to put on weight? That's my choice lah. I want to eat what I want to eat. What's your problem, right? So, yeah lah. I mean, but that's just a current example, Harvin. Shout out to you if you're listening to this. It's insane. But yeah, my gosh, Pagna had a really good point in there. That whole freedom of emotion, right? Freedom of emotion. So our great showrunner here, Jeremy, he has prepared, a nice guide to this, right? To dissect it one by one. Maybe I'll take the first question, okay? How much freedom of emotion should people have? I ask you two first, What is freedom of emotion?
What is freedom of emotion? Jeremy, what's freedom of emotion?
So there's no dictionary statement, so sorry I can't provide that today.
No, it's okay.
But I feel like freedom of emotion is
like
when people
feel whatever you want to feel.
Yeah, feel whatever you want to feel. Like without prejudice, without people judging your own perspective, and so that it becomes a very even playing field. That you are able to say like, oh, I'm having a rough day today, and not have someone say, you cannot feel this way.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's how that is freedom of emotion.
That's such a good way of putting it. I think because we are there's it's the high horse thing again. I think like what Minghan said earlier. People, I feel like it's come to a point where you're not openly allowed to feel lousy about something. Like, okay, I give you guys a perfect example, right? And we are guilty of this as well. I think trying to come in from a more sort of like moral high ground, right? The perfect example of this is I tell a friend, or I post up on social media, and I say, I freaking hate this lockdown. I'm sad, I'm angry, right? There's going to be people who sympathize with that standpoint. They're going to be like, I get you. Hopefully you feel okay. Positive vibes, sending you love, exercise, do something fun, right? So that's like one camp. And then there's going to be another camp of people say, why are you so entitled? People are struggling to make ends meet. And that's something I've done both. We've done on the podcast even last year as well, right? We were like, guys, are y'all being entitled if you're just complaining about being at home and stuff like that? Is that a form of us telling people that you can't feel the way you feel? So is that us infringing on the freedom of emotions, right? And I think yes and no as well. Yes, because we're definitely just telling you that's not valid. Right, where we're invalidating your emotions, but sometimes, and honestly, it's something that I feel myself as well. No, because I think at the end of the day, it's become so. What's the right word to use here? It's become so accepted that whatever is put across social media, usually that's where like opinions and suggestions and comments are made anyway.
Right.
That you have to take those suggestions and comments.
Right.
Like, why do you need to subject yourself or give that emotional energy or effort to someone telling you that, you know what, this is a glass of water, or I'm feeling sad this MCO, and then someone tells you you cannot because you're entitled. Like, realistically, as much as I'm allowed to disagree with that comment or agree with that comment, as a person who's feeling sad, I also have more than enough supremacy power to just disregard that comment. Like, I don't need to get triggered by it.
Yeah.
Right? So it's a yes and no to me at least.
But that's also a very slippery slope, right? Because the whole thing, then there's a whole, when someone comes and disregards that, it also is, if you're in a mental state that you don't have the mental capacity or emotional capacity to disregard it, then the whole snowball goes on. And I think I'm just going to say this, guys. Freedom of emotion is not equivalent to freedom of speech. Just saying. Because
it's true, yep.
you are free to feel whatever you want. But if you don't have the awareness that when you put it out and you speak it out into public, you are open to everyone else's freedom of speech.
Yep.
You see? So like please feel free to, feel whatever emotion you are. But I think so this is the thing. We were just saying about privilege, right? I feel like this concept cannot run from entitlement, right? Because you are free to feel whatever you want, but a lot of people feel entitled to be able to broadcast it and just get... I'm going to be the devil's advocate here, okay? I think there's an entitlement that I want to just have some cathartic release and post my feelings online to get some validation, right? So I will be the devil's advocate to say that freedom of emotion is not equivalent to freedom of speech, because freedom of speech involves more than one person, right? If you involve your own self, feel free to feel whatever you want. Literally, there's nothing wrong with that. But when, for example, why this is a problem is because, number one, freedom of emotion states that if you, let's say the example, I'm in a lockdown, but we are in an urban environment. We have our facilities. We have the space to live. We have livelihood, and we are not experiencing things like third world countries do, right? So the freedom of emotion for my stance is, in this environment, by myself, I experience my own environment stresses, right? In that environment, I don't think it's wrong to say that burnout is a very, very, very big thing. For example, stress, loneliness, depression, right? But see, that's in your circle right there. But the minute you open that topic up and you broadcast it online for the whole world to see, anyone will have the freedom of speech to like shoot you down and say that, some people literally don't have money anymore, and you're complaining about staying at home. And then someone will come up and say like, people in Iraq, like they are getting bombed every night, and you're complaining about staying at home. So obviously the moral high horse is always there when it comes to freedom of speech. But I think what people need to be a bit wise about is definitely where that line between being free to express your emotion takes place, right? Yeah. You can express it to your friends and family and people who care about you. They will understand your context entirely. But to a passerby online who doesn't know a thing about you, you sound like an entitled, privileged brat. You get what I mean? So I think that's the whole conundrum or the dilemma of the situation, People online want to see good stuff. People online want to see you rejoicing and having a great time. People online don't want to see you whining in your beautifully air-conditioned delivery food to your doorstep kind of situation, because people online don't care about your daily emotions and stresses. So maybe that your first question also I stress and talk until that already. But that's what I feel about it.
Pace yourself out, man.
Okay. So I think in response to what Pagna has to talk about freedom of emotion, don't get me wrong, I do believe in healthy, expressed, dealt with emotions. That's our freedom. Our freedom of emotion always includes the ability to express your emotion, to get help with emotions, and to build and nurture your emotions. But it does not include you being able to broadcast it everywhere, I feel. Because that's freedom of speech, right? It's the same as the freedom to to pee. I have a freedom to pee in my own toilet, but it doesn't mean I have a freedom to pee because it's a human bodily function. I can go and pee wherever I want, So that's a horrible metaphor, but that's what I believe lah. Let's move on. Man, that was heavy. Oh my gosh. Question 2, Mayo. Let's take the question 2.
Yeah. So mental health in today's society, where we always want to jump in and help other people who have negative situations that they're in. is it because that we're humans, we have this need or desire to want to fix problems? I don't know. I don't think everyone has this problem actually. I think maybe people who feel the need to be recognized for that. So I think the desire to help everyone, right, or the desire to always want to be an advisor to somebody, the desire to want to be seen on social media for a certain beneficial video that you're doing. You are a guru of some sort. You are a love doctor. You want to make content. In all essence of it, we have a void as humans. And it's that desire to be recognized, to be accepted, to be acknowledged, to be loved. Take your pick, whichever word you want. It's some form of acceptance, right? And I think what has happened over the years is that with social media being the forefront of how we communicate with people, whether we know them or not, whether we know their real stories or not, right? What's happened is that there's an overcompensation of wanting to be not just accepted for our views on things that don't even matter to us, or they're not even happening to us. That the overcompensating act of wanting to be like, you know what, I'm going to be here, I'm going to help you, I'm going to tell you to be positive. Everything else doesn't matter. The world sucks, right? Like that comes out because you want the person listening to you or the people around you to be like, wow, you're right. There's like this need, right, where we need to be heard. Because I tell you, you take away social media, right? 80% of the positive vibes only warriors will stand down. You take away the things that you do that are not in the light, right? They really tell who you are. And personally, because I'm a big believer of this, I actively tell people that if I'm not feeling it, you will know. If I'm not going to tell lies and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to be so strong in this situation. No, man. If I don't like certain things, I'm not afraid to tell you. I'm not afraid to show it, because let's be real. I mean, there's so much, not just negativity on social media, right? There's so much pretentiousness. There's so much fakeness that I feel that there's a need for people to be real, right? And so that's why maybe sometimes to some people, negative vibes are more appealing because sometimes it's seen as real, People, do we have to go ahead and correct it? Do we leave people to it? This is something really interesting. I feel like I think like at the start of the conversation we were having, certain people deal with things in a way that, everyone deals with things differently. I consider myself a bit of an optimist. I'm becoming pessimistic slightly more as I grow older. But even the way I, for example, see, last week's podcast, the way we deal with death, right? Like Minghan and I have a very different default mode when it comes to dealing with death. Like we are operational, we're functional, we care about the things of the people still around. There are people who would flip to the crumble and grieve for the person who's passed away. And I think that in itself shows the different spectrums of how humans operate, right? And I think that's why when it comes to certain matters whether it's finance, whether it's a relationship, positive and negative are not definite. They're not definite labels. You have fluctuations in between and all over the place, right? And I think that's why we have to understand that how I perceive a situation, it will always be different to you. And I don't think we are at liberty to tell people that the way you're doing it is wrong.
Yeah.
Because if you can tell someone that the way they're doing it is wrong, someone else would come to you and tap you on the shoulder and be like, bro, actually the way you are doing it is wrong, right?
Yeah.
There's no one way to do things. And so that's why I think as much as we want to help fix people's problems, sometimes it's more important to be there for that person than try to fix the problem, the situation. Yeah.
I think here's where we flip it on the people, right? Some people who are always inclined to help, the bottom line is they feel like they do it better. If you don't feel like you do it better, you won't be helping, right? If you don't feel like that person is doing it worse than you won't be helping, right?
Yeah.
I think it just works along the fact that if you feel like you're in a position to give advice to someone, you will give the advice if you feel that that person is beneath your standard or beneath the performance of what you can do. That's just what I feel. And just so we're clear, right? We are talking about this very jump in to help people, right? And it's a very different thing to, I think, sharing opinions and stuff like that, because there's a very big difference between having a forum and having a healthy discussion and people who are doing this whole like, let me help you please, or you should be doing this, right? I think the guide for this is very simple. Number one, if they don't ask for help, don't help lah. That's it, right? And number two, the only time that you should intervene is if they pose a threat to their own safety or to other people's safety. That's to me, that's like a very, very simple way to know when to step in and when to not step in. Because think about it this way, right? People who don't ask for your help, they don't want to be helped one. Seriously, right?
Correct.
If they don't ask for help, don't help. Some people fish for help and they won't listen to you anyway. They just want you to validate their problems, right? So I think it does fall back to the fact that humans are all very, we are herd like mammal culture, communal culture in nature. So there's definitely strength in numbers and there's a need to always be there for people and everything. But I think when you take the familiarity of people away and you talk about strangers on the internet, and like for our friends who are on social media, people who come up, and even for like Suyen, right, people who come up and teach you how to be a better mom, I think that's a very interesting thing that I found online, that people feel like they have the liberty to tell you how to do things right. Then again, you can tell from how they say it as well. They don't usually, those who actually want to help, right, they will suggest options, right? They will say like, hey, I don't know about you, but for me, when I went through this is my experience and this is how I did it. Versus the people who are like, you should not be doing this. It's not good for yourself. Please go and fix yourself, that kind of thing. And I think that's the thing lah. There is also that whole thing about if you privately message someone and deal something out, or you publicly, state something and like, yeah, you shouldn't be doing this, is wrong. I think that's, to me, my balance would be, number one, if you do want to rebuke someone, do it in private, right? Don't do it publicly. I think it's very shameful, seriously. And number two is that whole guideline of if they didn't ask for help, don't help them unless it is a threat to their life or their livelihood or well-being or someone else's. That's how I find the balance in this. Because even my friends who are professional trained counselors do not do that. Because you do not want them to jump into someone's situation being ill-prepared, not knowing the context of their lives, and just saying something that might damage them more. So please, sometimes your goodwill help is not help at all,
Yeah, so this is from the angle, if we're talking about people who, to the people who find themselves more often than not trying to, solve other people's problems, right? But for us feeling it as well, I think there's one of the points I want to touch on is, like the positive vibes only. I love that Jeremy put this in, right? Like, why do we always, and this is something that, I personally believe in spreading positivity. I believe that it's good to, if you're going to converse and talk about something, it should be a positive thing and not something that's detrimental or destructive, right? But my question is, how much positivity is too much, right? Like, what's the line between being positive and pretentious? Like,
I do feel,
where's that?
I do feel like the origin of positive vibes only was a good-natured one lah, to be honest,
Yeah.
I feel like some people got together and like, let's just have positive vibes only. Let's not put each other down, let's have a very healthy place to, be. It's something like what we do in the company, right? It's a company culture, positive vibes only kind of thing, right? But I think someone took it too far and it becomes an echo chamber of like, please just agree. If you don't agree, get out. But I don't know. What's the line in you? Seriously, what is too much positivity? I feel like I don't have that in my life, man. If you're too much, I'm out.
We need to give people a very specific
example.
Because if not, it's not relatable, right? Then it's just like whatever we're saying, nobody's gonna question it I want people to
Wow.
question it. Jeremy, what's something to you that's like, wow, this one too much positivity?
A bit too much. Yeah.
Like if think of an uncle who posts the Facebook like good morning post, have a great day times like 100 of that, like that
Too much of
intensity
that.
just like every day is like it's a great day, like there's
It's a
nothing
great
gonna
day.
shut me down, and like to be honest, like I can just be realistic a bit. But you know, maybe that person is really positive and good on them. But that to me is when you need to have a reason to be so positive on social media every day. I feel that that's too much already. That you don't
This is
need
a
to.
personal preference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's for me.
I think, okay, so maybe I think, like, I want to explore this. I want to talk about why we maybe don't gravitate towards these things, right? So overly positive people give out the impression that they have their shit together, that they have their ducks in a row. Whether it's intentional or not, right? So whether we're not going to talk about intention here. We're just going to assume that that they are, whether it's genuinely they're positive or they're doing it so that there is a certain following that they're capturing, right? Whatever. People who always have all the right answers, who have all the explanations, who never have a error in their life, always give the impression that they have their shit together, right? And that is what humans hate. I don't know if you realize this, but you become less relatable to somebody the more perfect you are.
They
So
don't
even if I
dengki lah,
call you
yeah.
out, if I call you out on a mistake, right, and be like, Minghan, like the way that you dress, or the way that you breathe, or the way that you eat the rice, right, it dropped out your mouth. Can you eat properly? Then Minghan suddenly just tells you, oh, I purposely did that because I want to have another piece of rice. I always eat my rice by 70 grains and I calculated it, and so the 69 piece came. Like when you do that, right, when you have this, not positive, when you have your shit together all the time, it becomes unrelatable. It's like, it doesn't make sense.
Do you realize?
And
Sorry, but I do realize that this kind of tied into what you said in the previous episode of like workplace culture.
Yes.
When you're the best person, right? You will. I'm not sure if it was you guys or the Discord, right? But I remember someone said like when you are the person who is so like the best employee, the model employee, there will be people who really want to like take advantage of that. Like why are you so?
Do you want to shut you
know,
down?
they will find a way to shut you down. And sorry, that's humans in nature, right?
Yeah,
we
it
want
is.
to
Yeah.
be. But how do you be the person to blend in? You know, and
Correct,
be a part of it.
We're not saying like just be bad, so you
Yeah,
blend
yeah.
in, right? But I think that there is an element of when you try, like, okay, long story short, if it's fake, you will know, and people will know. If every day I post up a motivational quote and I'm just doing it because I just want to be seen as like, oh, this is really positive guy, right? Dude, people see through that shit, one. And it may not be social media people who see it, but it could be family members or people around you be like, actually,
separate
why is he
a
doing
bit
that,
lah
right?
from motivational speakers lah. There are some people who are literally, this is their forte and they do it right, and they really just want to motivate and cheer people up every day.
Correct,
right?
correct.
And this we're talking about the people that are a bit too much, who are not motivational speakers.
Correct,
who are,
correct. So like people who wake up in the morning and then they hashtag their coffee, they're like hustling hard, fuel for the day, get those dreams, right? You take a lunchtime break and then you take a picture of yourself in the toilet. The only rest I'm getting when I'm not working, like you, and then you just positive all these work things, and then when you drink water, so you be like, this water was given to me so I can sustain my day, my happiness. After a while, people are like, Josh, shut the F up.
I mean, okay, let's twist it back just a bit, because I feel like when we're talking about this kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
It's a bit different from what Pagna asked. Pagna, I think his approach is more of the people, not the one who are just portraying the positive stuff, right? But the people who make it a thing and judge other people who are negative. The people who don't allow people to be okay, or like who kind of like, I think it definitely has to do with the situation they're in, but like make people feel that it's not okay to express something negative, right? Because I mean, when it comes to like presenting positivity online, it could be people just picking out stuff of their lives that they want to share or don't want to share, right? So we can add aside a caution on that. But I think it's more of, when it comes to the hashtag positive vibes only, how do we validate people's negative emotions, right? And do we pass it off and say like, you'll be okay, don't worry, you'll get through this, it's just a phase, or like these are the things that I feel might relate a bit more to the question when it comes to positive vibes only, right? Because a lot of these positive vibes only people, quote unquote, the positive hype hustlers, most of the times I think they amplify positivity, right? And when it comes to negativity, the way that the way things are handled and addressed are in that perspective of, don't worry, get good, get better, It's okay.
They just
get
blanket it over you and just
correct.
It's a positive mind solves all the problems.
It's this whole allowance of like, don't worry, get good, don't worry, get better. And it's not about like, okay, let's talk about why you're feeling like this now. And let's just dwell in this for a bit to help you go through this spot. There's a constant focus on, there's the light at the end of the tunnel. Keep going, And I've been guilty of that myself. I always said to people, if you feel like you're in hell, keep going. Because obviously I don't want to stop and take the effort to be like, okay, let's talk about step 1 to 5 in hell. Then we talk about step 6 to 15, And most of the time, I think maybe that's where the conversation or this question came about, is that whole phrase of, is it okay not to be okay? And more often than not, right? More often than not, I think we dismiss a lot of people like that. We instead of like saying, hey, how are you? We do it with a very minimal intention to really understand how they are. It's like, hey, how are you? I'm not doing so great. Da 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 da. Then you're just like, it's okay, man. Don't worry, you'll be fine. Take care. And that's it. That's how we validate people's emotions. So I think that's the best example that I can think of. Instead of like thinking about like the people who always try to motivate, because the motivational stuff on posts is very like surface level one. You don't really get to the negativity in someone without sitting down and talking to them properly, right? And I think what we could do from here to maybe wrap the thing up is action steps of how to sometimes take negativity or something negative and grow on that. And I want to even take out this point. It just needs to be grown and walked through. Of course the goal is to have something positive at the end of the day, but the action steps. How would you deal with a negative person, Mingyu? Or Jeremy, how would you deal with someone who is like just there's no positive vibes? When you meet the guy, it's just like, oh, I can feel the salt and the sourness in the air, that kind of thing. I can feel the shadows creeping down the windows.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I think what you said earlier was hit me with this one point, like where we are all. I think we are just look at the other side, right? Where we are people who, for me at least, I feel that when people are having a rough day, I feel sometimes a need to help them get through it. But sometimes the action steps that we take are a bit too overkill for that matter.
Yeah.
Like we feel that we need to give them advice. Sometimes they don't need advice; they just need someone to talk to. And I think this brings us back also to when we first talked about this topic. And for me, I feel like before when early in my life, I used to always want to help people and talk to them and just give them advice. Hey, you should do this, you should do that. You should do this, you should do that. Why you feel this way? Don't feel this way. Be happy. And I think I fit that like profile of a person who was really positive and wanted to make everybody's life happy. But as I grew up, I realized that sometimes people just need to cool off and they just need someone to talk to and just be and you can just offer yourself not as an advice giver or a positive spreader, but as a listening ear, a person to just have just let it go through you to just get them off. Because many people, I realized, felt much better after releasing their stresses or their tough times or their problems in life. And I think that helps them just get it off their chest and they feel much better after doing so. And I think we've seen this in the Discord channel. We have the heart to heart and the heart no heart. People who do that felt much better after not just getting advice, I guess, but also just getting off their chest to just, let people know, let that out of their system. So I think for me, the action steps for me is just be the listening ear sometimes. Unless they ask for an opinion or a question.
Yeah.
And then you give your opinion. Yeah. Because you need to know the context of the situation, that you just jump in and say this and that when, you might not know what they were actually going through behind the scenes.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's true.
I think it's okay to feel like shit. Like that's where I'm kind of like just putting my opinion. I think it's okay to feel like shit. It's okay to feel lousy and defeated and all that. But how long you stay in that space is probably a different topic altogether, right? So that's why I think if we were going to answer the question, right, is it okay not to be positive all the time? My answer to that is yes. But it's also not okay if you're negative all the time. Like, you need to have both of that. Because if you're... I mean, I'm sure you guys probably know people who kind of like land on either spectrum slightly more. But I think if you don't have your negatives and positives, right, things in your life are also a bit unrealistic then, right? Like, if you tell me, and this is again both sides of the conversation, if you tell me that everything in life is good, then you don't know how to appreciate anything then. Because everything has just been jolly sailing for you, you take things for granted. If you tell me that there's nothing to be grateful about in life and life sucks ass, then I'll ask you, well, you woke up today, right? You were breathing, you had food to eat. So I think you can't have either without the either. You can't be positive without negative, and you can't be negative without being positive as well. The amounts of that vary, but realistically, there's no darkness if there's no light.
There's no extreme,
right?
There's always a balance. Between. I think my only closing note to anyone listening to this is, if you are, and then most of the time we're talking about people, like any one of you who feels like the need to help someone in a situation, do it on their terms. Don't enter someone's life and enforce your own rules. Okay? That's all I can say in regards to that. Because if you do that, and you do that with empathy, and you do that with sensitivity, the way you help people change. The way you talk changes. You meet them where they are and you really help them. Instead of approaching their life with a signboard and a loudspeaker that says, hey, you're doing it wrong, follow this. I mean, some circumstances, yes, you need a shocking way like that. But most of the time, I honestly think the best way to help anyone is to talk and listen to them first. And then, by some miracle that you feel that you can offer benefit into their life, do it responsibly.
You should even ask them first, be like, would you be okay if I shared my thoughts or advice?
That's very
with
good.
you?
Correct. That's a very
because
good
everyone,
Thanks,
I would
Jeremy.
say everyone wants to be heard.
Yeah.
That's it. You don't need to ask about that. Everyone would love to say something but to speak into someone's life, I think that whole practice of being allowed to say something does not exist nowadays. Because everyone feels like they're entitled to say something about your situation. Yeah.
So here's my action steps for everyone who's listening. The next time you want to tell somebody a piece of advice, right, you ask them for permission first. Then you realize, right, whether you are overstepping your boundaries or whether it's something that you should be even speaking to about. So whether it's in the case of Harvind, right, and if you want to comment about his weight, you ask him first. Yo, Harvind, just want to ask if I can, give you my opinion about the way you look or something. If you are looking at a friend and how they are raising a child, you ask for permission. Hey, just want to check in if I could weigh in on the way that you're bringing up your child. And if the person says no, then you shut up and keep it to yourself. That's the simple truth of it, man. Oh, this podcast, I feel like there's so much more to talk about when it comes to being just negative or positive or in between or in the middle. But we'll save it for another day. I think it's something that there's just a lot to even digest and process through. Share with us your thoughts, please. We would love to hear it. This week's song recommendation is a song called Sunset from a local artist called Silver Limb. And it sounds like this.
I think about
Beat no time. Wow, what a song. Jeremy's gonna put that in post. So that's great. Thanks, Ryan and Jeremy. Oh man, but how you guys gonna what's the game plan for June, guys?
Survive.
Alright. Jeremy, what's the game plan? Jeremy, can we find a new game to play, Jeremy? I need to play an MMORPG.
Okay, we will do that. We'll
We're
find
gonna find a new
few.
game.
It's called,
Okay.
I haven't started playing it yet. It's called Wonder Box and Apple Arcade.
Okay, I'm talking about like massively
Genshin Impact.
multiplayer online role-playing games.
Genshin Impact.
Oh no! Oh, it's not
don't
noobs.
insult the people.
Don't insult
I'm
me,
gonna
please.
start. I'm gonna start playing Genshin Impact.
Okay, well, for everyone else, if you guys want to get caught up with more podcasts, we're available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts as well. So make sure you jump on over to the takeaway table to get caught up with all the latest content. We also have a Discord community if you guys want to be a part of it. Like Minghan said, that's where we get some really good suggestions from you guys for podcast topics. Or if you just want to have a hang or a casual chill, we're available. Check us out on discord.gg/the takeaway table. That's discord.gg/the takeaway table, as well as some content coming your way on our gaming channel, 12 Juice, and the Ming Ting live streams. What else am I missing out, guys? That's about
Not
it,
too
right?
much because my
Wrap that
camera is
up.
about to stop recording. So
I love it, guys. Have a great week ahead. Let us know how you're spending the lockdown. Tag us in your stories and we'll send you some love. Be safe, guys. It's not over till it's over. Bye-bye.